Good evening, everyone. And it's Monday night, not Sunday night, but it is the final word on the weekend's action. Of course, the last match of the season. Wolverhampton Wanderers won. Brentford won. It doesn't tell the whole story. We've got a couple of fantastic guests that are joining me tonight. A couple of faces you haven't seen for a little while. And we've got a phone in. If you want to get on the show as well, the link is in the description below. If you want your couple of minutes to come on and talk about it. In tonight's show, we are going to be doing the talking points from yesterday's game, the man of the match and ratings, of course. But again, it is important. It is the end of the season. We were having a little look back at that. Maybe some highlights of the season with our guests tonight and the low points. But we're also going to be looking at the summer transfer window, the latest news, obviously, from Fabrizio, Cunha to United, Rayan to City, to a bit of lightheartedness as well. We're going to be doing what is your favourite pizza shopping. We're going to be doing your questions answered as well. The link to get on the show is in the description. I want to welcome onto the show. We haven't had him on for a little while. Just got off the train. It's George Talks. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well, Dave. How are you?
I'm good, mate. It's glad to. I know you've been wanting to come on for a few weeks, but your life's got in the way. And congratulations on the new job that you've got. I know you've got an exam on Wednesday, but you've just graduated from university as well. And we're just saying this time last year you were on your way to Camp America. I bet that was a fantastic experience.
Oh yeah, mate, absolutely brilliant. But you know, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about the Wolves. So
no, we were just talking about you've also got a side hustle as a Jack Grealish lookalike.
Well, I mean, not really with this hair, but I used to have like the blonde highlights, sort of 2023, 2022, and like. When I was an IB for it, was a good time. I'll put it that way.
Iron Apple, and all that jazz, yeah.
I went both Iron Apple and IB for in one summer, so it was a good summer.
A few people saying hello to you as well on the show, mate, which is fantastic.
Well, it's good to be back. I mean, obviously you've probably seen some of my TikToks today, so some of you might have an idea what I'm going to say. But yeah, great to be back. I always love coming on, and you know you got such a fantastic audience. So yeah, brilliant to be back.
Fantastic. And we're also glad to be welcoming back Lewis. Hello, Lewis. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Oh, hi, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be back. I haven't been on for quite a couple of months now, really. So,
well, yeah. You've been very busy as well, Lewis, because, again, you've graduated and all of that. You've been looking for the right position and you've started a new job as well, haven't you?
Yeah, start of the year. So it's been a couple of months adjusting, Dave, and just getting into it.
It's been going really well for you?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. Been happy to get started with something I'm keen to go into, and yeah, going well so far.
Fantastic. Now, a couple of things that I just want to cover off before we get cracking into the show tonight. Again, I want to say a massive thank you to the wonderful local Wolverhampton company, Creation Wolf, who power tonight's show. They deliver the latest and the most advanced digital solutions, taking your brand online presence and digital capabilities to the next level. There's a link to their website below, creationwolf.com. And whether you're listening to this, watching it back on YouTube, or any other platform, or listening to it back on the podcast, you can find them. But we're very grateful for their continued support and proud to be saying that we're continuing as a Always Wolves partner into next season as well, which is fantastic. But before we get started, guys, I do think we should just send our love and best wishes to everyone, because breaking news, everyone that's involved in the obviously Liverpool, Palace, Arsenal have all had their trophy parades today, but there's breaking news that a car has ploughed into people at the trophy thing in Liverpool. This is breaking news at the moment. They do not know how many injuries or if anyone's lost their life, but all we can pray is that no one has. but it's unbelievable why someone would do that. And I think Lewis, George, you both sort of echo that, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, there's not really much you can say, but yeah, it's terrible.
It really is. It really is. And yeah, so obviously we're live here on YouTube, across social, with the show tonight. And if there's any more news on that, we will bring you updates. But yeah, our love and best wishes go from, I'm sure, the whole Wolves fan base to everyone affected by that tragedy. And we do hope that no one's lost their life in that. So let's get on to let's talk about, first of all, George. We'll go with you first, about the season. If you want to talk about the season as a whole, because it's been a while since you've been here, and also the game yesterday. I mean, and any talking points that you want to bring out. We will obviously get stuck into transfers and things like that once we've covered off the yesterday and that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I always said, like, the season was pretty much, there was only one way the season could go after that Brentford game. It was either we stay up or we go down. That, you know, Europe was sort of out of the question. Like, I know, obviously, obviously we're Wolves. We're not necessarily expected to get Europe, but it's nice to sort of have that ambition and focus on something other than mid-table. So that was kind of out of the question. And then obviously with Gary O'Neill, it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. And I think he did work hard, and I think he did try hard to get things done. But I think the players just didn't really understand what he was trying to do. You know, you'd see 10 minutes into the match, you'd be calling the players over, you know, going, you know, trying to explain the tactics. And I think, as I said, he tried his best, but I just don't. I think last season, because when he came in, he obviously inputted like a relaxed style of training, and I think the players loved it. It kind of reminded me a bit of like Gareth Southgate, England. Like, you're not training, you're almost at a holiday camp, and you can kind of see when Pereira came in, players like Lamina, Dawson, Cunha didn't really react to that well. That we've almost got this new authoritarian, like, I wouldn't say like authoritarian, but the way Gary O'Neill was, he was so relaxed. And so, yeah, but obviously Pereira came in. We got that big win against Leicester. And the Ipswich game was actually my birthday, the home game. So it was like the worst possible.
That was the 14th of December, correct?
Yeah, my birthday, yeah. So it was just
George. That was also the birthday of my mom, who obviously we lost, and I was very emotional that day anyway. And then obviously what happened afterwards, you know. So that was also your birthday.
Yeah, I mean,
Sagittarian.
Yeah. I don't know anything about star signs, but I'm sure it's a good one. But yeah, obviously that happened in the Ipswich game. I remember walking out of it and I was like, this is the lowest I felt as a Wolves fan since, well, you know, maybe since like Lambert in the Championship. I just felt like really low, and it was really sort of hard to see a way back. And like, I could only really think we were going to go down, and I was trying to sort of get the positives. So, you know, good away days in the Championship. When you break it down, you want to be in the Prem. But Pereira comes in, he gets that first win against Leicester, absolutely brilliant. Gets that Boxing Day win against Man United, which was unbelievable. I was in WV1 Plus, which I don't know if you've been in there before, but that's my favourite hospitality when I've been lucky enough to go. And then, yeah, obviously we had a bit of a poor run around January time. People are questioning Pereira a bit. But I think what Pereira's done well is he's come in and he's just simplified things. And he said this in his interviews, like, it's simple. He said he's implemented a system. The players know exactly what they're doing. And if you look at most games, we don't really play that differently. My only sort of criticism is it's a very hard-working team. It's a very battling team, but there isn't that much creativity, and it looks like a lot of the creative players are going to leave. And then obviously we got that 6 in a row. That was absolutely brilliant. And then I just find it a disappointing end to the season, to be honest. And this seems to be like a really key theme. Every season we seem to start poorly.
Mate, we have a terrible record on the last day. We have only won one, I think, of our last 11 final day matches.
I mean, yeah.
We're not very good. Although we didn't lose. I'm glad we didn't make it 4 defeats in a row.
Oh, of course, yeah. But you're in the dressing room before. You've just lost 3 in a row. And how can you not motivate those players? You know, if we win this game, we'll finish above Man United and Tottenham. Yes, they've not been good this season, but 14th, in my opinion, looks a lot better than 16th. So it is a shame the way the season's petered out. But at the end of the day, we stayed up. We've got, I mean, we'll go on to this later. We've got a good squad as it stands, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, there's definitely positives to take from this season. I think a lot of players have improved. I'd say Totti Gomez has improved so much. And
he just made his 100th appearance as well.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I don't think many people agree with this, but for me, he should be captain next season. That's what I believe.
Well, it'll be an interesting discussion on that in a minute. I mean, the captaincy. I mean, obviously, we're going to wait to see what happens with Semedo. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We know he's recorded Lewis a farewell video, and he looked a bit emotional on the pitch yesterday. But he's also put an Instagram out saying that he has a big decision to make for him and his family. So I don't think it's cut and dry. So if there was no Semedo, then obviously captaincy would be up. For me personally, I do like Totti Gomez, but I think Agbadou has been captain at Rennes, central defence, and he would probably be my pick. Lewis, you've heard what George has had to opening statements there from George. It's been a while since you've been on, so it'd be good to hear your take as well, because it's been a couple of months since you've been able to join us, and also what you've said, what George has had to say there, and if there is no Semedo next year, which we'll talk more about in a bit, it would be your pick for captain as well.
Yeah, I think the season has been. It's not a success because it's another season where we've just avoided relegation, so I don't think it can be viewed as a successful season. But we didn't fail either because we managed to stay in the league, which is that at the minimum is the ultimate goal of every team, to stay up, and then obviously you can do more if you can. But at Christmas, I was quite convinced we would be relegated, even though everyone kept saying, well, the teams below us are worse than us, and our players are too good to go down. I just didn't see a team that had enough to stay up in terms of on the pitch.
To be honest, I mean, I think a lot of us, Lewis, were getting to that point. At that point, a lot of people had gone through the concerned phase to the frustrated phase to the angry phase, and then when you get past the angry phase, you go to the kind of apathy phase and the acceptance phase. And there's it was like the hope had been pulled out of with everything that happened in pre-season, with the ticket prices and obviously Jeff's misguided statement about if you want to win things and all of that. And then you have such a bad start, and after the bad run from the end of last season, and then the one time we did think, we're going to think, and then we Bournemouth, Brentford at half time, we're getting battered as well. It was bad, wasn't it? So you can understand you feeling that way. Yeah.
So then, when we're like, if you compare Christmas to now, the improvement is incredible, and that's because of the manager and the signings the club were able to make in January. I think two really important signings were Agbadou and Manetsi. Agbadou is so obvious, his impact. He's allowed us to be much more secure and solid at the back. Manetsi is a player who his impact I don't think is as obvious if you're not really watching Wolves. A Premier League fan would see the impact Agbadou's had, but a Wolves fan can see the impact Manetsi's had. Because he allows our other players like Cunha and Larsen to play a different way. I saw an Athletic article maybe a couple of weeks ago about Manetsi, about the role he's playing in the team. And it said that, he's a bad finisher, and, some of the chances he has missed, it's fair to have that opinion, but he showed he is capable of finishing chances yesterday, which was a really good goal, and a goal that I didn't think was going to come in the game for us otherwise, other than a big moment.
What a finish from Manetsi. The thing is, I was saying you could have a highlights reel of all the easier missed chances that he's had, and the hardest one of the lot, it's an absolute pile driver, isn't it? I mean, he has a shot on him.
Dave, you could get a highlight compilation from Blackburn away, the amount he missed then. You don't even need all the other games. Blackburn away was bad enough.
That's true, that is. And we saw he had that one shot of Blackburn away where it was a blistering shot just past the post. So he can hit it. And it kind of came route one, didn't it, Lewis?
Yeah, it's not necessarily, Dave, the prettiest goal. It's a moment, the team. It's just one pass from Agbadou, I think, to Larsen, and then Manetsi scored. So it's not something that I think that they can work on all the time in the training ground. You think, we'll score another goal very similar to that it's one of them where it's just a moment, and it's still a great goal. And yeah, I was really happy with that because I didn't think we'd have another big chance like that. After Manetsi's goal. But yeah, it's been it feels like the season just been of two halves. A really poor half, and then since Vitor's come in, he's just resolved a lot of the issues that were at the club. And I think things have definitely improved since January. It's very clear to see. But now it's a very tough job at Wolves now, moving forward.
It's a very tough job, and funnily enough, I've had to do the a BBC article today in conjunction with the producer, and one of the questions on it is, how do you rate the season out of 10? And exactly what you said, it's like you have to break it down into a season of two halves. It's like, so I gave it 2 for the first half and then 8 for the second half, but you can only really give it a 5 overall because of how it's been. I mean, it was dreadfully poor. That goal from Manetsi as well. And the other thing I want to say as well, Larsen, 14 goals. Raul Jimenez only scored 13 in his first year. And look at the success Raul went on to be.
And no penalties either. Jimenez scored quite a few pens, didn't they?
No, I was hoping we were going to get a penalty in the 93rd minute of the last game of the season. But we'd have probably missed it because that's what Wolves are about. But the one thing I want to say about Larsen, and quite rightly, he's been pulled up by panelists on here and other people about he's not strong enough, he doesn't hold the ball up, it gets knocked off the ball easily. Obviously, he wasn't fully fit when he came back, but the last sort of 10 games of the season, we've started to see that he is a bit stronger. He was holding the ball up, and actually he was winning headers, and it was because he won that header that it flicked on to Manetsi to finish. So I think Larsen has been an interesting season, and hopefully, if we can keep him fit, he's going to he can kick on for next season as well. George.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said Larsen in front of goal, his finishing is brilliant. If you deliver, give him the service, he will deliver. And I think we've had a lot of strikers in the past who would, miss all these chances. It's so refreshing to see someone, if you put the ball right in front of him, he will put it away. I remember that goal, Bournemouth at home, just such a nice finish. And you were so confident he was going to put it away. Yeah, I mean, I really like him. He's, in my opinion, he's the best Norwegian striker in the Premier League. Obviously, I'm joking. But what I will say is, people might say, 25 million is a bit much. To get a striker who's going to get you more than 10 goals in the Premier League, you've got to be paying that money.
At least.
The way I see it is, he came in on loan this season, so it doesn't really affect FFP. It'll come out of next season's budget, where we're going to obviously get a lot of money coming in. So yeah, I think it's a great signing. He's a really good bloke as well. He does a lot for the community. Apparently, he's really good with the fans. And yeah, he's got a great chant. I think he'll be the number 9 for years to come, because is he 24, 25?
He ain't very old. And to be honest, I feel like he's only going to get stronger and better. And we can get a striker that gets 20 goals next year. Keep him fit.
I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I think he looks a lot better when Cunha's not playing. I think him and Cunha get each other.
It's interesting you should say that, because we did, of course, start that winning streak. The Cunha was out. We won 3 and drew 1, and we played really, really well. Actually, it'd be interesting to hear Lewis's thoughts on that. Do you think Larsen flourishes more without Matthias, or was just how it worked out at that time? Because obviously Matthias Cunha is a supremely talented individual player that can make. You're talking about moments. He can make multiple moments happen out of nothing.
Yeah, I definitely take the point that the fixtures in the run were more winnable games than the ones Cunha had been playing in previously. But I think the way we played with Cunha and without Cunha is very different. You can see that when Cunha has been on the pitch this season, the players always want the ball, and maybe that's because the manager has told them to. The ball goes through Cunha lots of the time. You find him in that space, just maybe 10 yards outside the D. You allow him to run into that space, and he can either pass it off or shoot. And he has moments, some of the goals he scored from that area, like in Southampton, in the Southampton game, the Fulham game. Those moments are incredible, and other players couldn't score those chances. But what we saw when Cunha wasn't playing was the ability for the team to still create goals and still play very well without those moments. You know, we can score a better team goal without Cunha in the team. But I think where we will miss Cunha next season is in games where we just don't look quite like we're going to score as a team. You know, the other team is sitting very low. You know, where a special goal is going to happen. You know, something that just a bit out of the ordinary. That's where we will miss him. You know, because I don't see us replacing Cunha directly with another player exactly like Cunha. I think the way the manager, I think he wants to play, hold the ball more. Cunha is a breakaway player, you know, someone who can go very quick. And that's not obviously, I don't think the manager, he doesn't want to play that way anymore. I think you look at him historically, he likes to have the ball more and to be a bit more patient with it.
Absolutely. And as I think we will get stuck into the Cunha situation, obviously, shortly. Obviously, it's been a 38-game season. At the end of the day, we didn't get the win. We would have won yesterday. It was, you know, the difference between sort of 14th and 17th was something like £9 million. I've had a few Man United fans that have made some interesting comments on my match reaction after the game yesterday, saying, "Oh, you still couldn't finish above us." What they seem to forget is that they beat a team with 10 men yesterday who scored a completely legitimate goal. That the referee blew the whistle before it went in the net, so VAR couldn't overturn it. They've been so lucky.
Dave, the fact that they're comparing their season to Wolves and saying to Wolves fans, "Oh, you still couldn't finish above us," just shows how far they've fallen.
Well, exactly, and I just find it, you know, we're going to talk a bit more about Man United, but I just, you know, just find sometimes this pretentiousness that it's like they're moving into a tent in a few years' time. It's like, you know, you finished above us on goal difference because a 10-men team had a goal disallowed against you, and we did beat them twice, home and away, did we not, without conceding a goal? Anyway, Lewis, let's go to you. Before you get to go to you, and we're going to come back to you guys in a minute for your man of the match performance rating and your moment or highlight of the day. We've got some contributors. Let's hear first of all from Dave, who just come off the pitch at Molineux.
Hey Dave with New York Wolves, sending you a quick video on the Brentford game. I suppose the draw was about even. I heard at half time that we had like 14 shots in the first half. It didn't seem like that many, but we definitely had a lot more than Brentford. It felt like one of those matches where we didn't get started. We seemed sluggish and gave up a silly goal. And then all of a sudden when we equalised, we woke up. I feel like that's been the case for a lot of games this season. So hopefully that's something that Tik Tok can work on for next season. But nice goal from Manetsi. How could do with the goal kick flicked on by Larsen and drilled it by Manetsi. I mean, is there any more Route 1 than that? But cracking finish. It almost looked like Manetsi was going to hesitate and try and be clever, but in the end he just swung his laces at it and drilled it in the top corner. How the heck Guedes hadn't already equalised, I do not know. I haven't watched the highlights back. I'm not sure I want to, and I'm sure he won't want to, because from where we were sat, that was a tap-in for an equaliser a few minutes earlier. But, you know, we dropped down to 16th. A little disappointing that we dropped 2 places and that Man U finished above us. That irks me for obvious reasons, or many obvious reasons. But overall, we stayed up. That was the goal. And Vitor showed some really good promising signs and some really good results. So hopefully, how many times have we said this? Hopefully the manager gets the backing of Fosun in the summer. And we actually kick on next season rather than getting stuck in this infinite loop of have a decent finish to the season, Sultan players struggle to rebound, flirt with relegation, then end up being safe and then do it all over again. Hopefully this is a different situation. So anyway, that was it. disappointed to end on a draw, but we didn't lose, and we're still in the Premier League. So on to next season. Up the Wolves.
Noah here from Monterey, California. So it ends Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Brentford 1. Our final Premier League match of the season. Our final Premier League match with Molyneux this season. Overall, a decent draw. I think overall, a big improvement from Palace in the week. We looked fairly switched on, and we didn't really look on the beach, if I'm being honest. The only thing that was missing, at least, was a finishing touch. And finally, that did come from Marshall Manetsi. Fantastic strike. Probably one of the better strikes, one of the better goals I've seen this season. Took it so well. And, good to see some of the players get the appreciation they deserve. Rayan Nuri, Matheus Cunha, Tom King coming on for Jose Sa. Tom King getting to claim a ball as well in the Premier League, which is really nice to see. Until next season, I guess. It's been a roller coaster. It's been a difficult season at times. It's been a fun season at times. But I think most of all, I'd like to really thank Dave for always continuing to provide the best avenue for international fans to get involved and speak their voice. None of what international fans do or whatever would be possible without him. So really would like to thank Dave for that, and of course all of you guys as well. Until next season, guys. Hopefully have a good transfer window as well, and always Wolves.
How lovely was that from Noah? Thank you ever so much, Noah. That really means a lot when we get really lovely feedback like that. So thank you ever so much to New York Dave and Noah. We do have another couple of contributions that will come a little bit later on in the show. We've gotten almost 500 of you watching live, which is fantastic. There's a few more on TikTok, which is amazing too. So thanks for that. You can see the full thing on YouTube. There's a load of people asking about mentioning the Liverpool thing, which is fantastic. We have mentioned that at the start, of course. We send our love and best wishes to them. And if you missed the start of the show, we have covered it. We will come back to it again during the show. So, George, let's go to you first for your Lee Moore Windows Man of the Match. Your Foxship, your performance rating, your Parkside Dental Care moment that made you smile. It could even be a nice little sausage or sausage burger or curry or whatever it is.
Man of the match for me, João Gomez. I mean, I don't think anyone particularly stood out too much yesterday, and I thought there was a few worrying performances because some players who I thought had improved seemed to sort of regressed a bit yesterday. But yeah, João Gomez for me, he's improved so much this season. When he first came in, he was basically just a swashbuckler in midfield and just ran around with a lot of energy and just, ball winning, but his passing was poor. The way Gomez can now pick up the ball in the midfield, and that spin he did, the roulette, unbelievable. I mean, so I just think the amount of effort he puts in, he controls the midfield. I mean, him and Andre are always faultless, unbelievable footballers. And obviously, we need to definitely keep hold of them too. But yeah, Gomez for me, unbelievable player and another great performance. What was the next one? Match rating.
Yeah. Out of 10. You can go 0.5 or whatever if you want as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it was disappointing yesterday. I know Noah said we weren't on the beach. I thought we could have offered a lot more. I don't think Brentford looked all that good. I know Brentford are a decent side and high up in the table, but so many chances and Cunha just giving the ball away all the while. The goal was sloppy. So I can't give it any more than a 5 because was getting really frustrated because obviously knowing that we could win and we'd finish 14th, I thought that was a bit poor. But some okay performances, but I can't give any more than 5. But a great goal from Manetsi. And then moment that made me smile, I think my brother's been away in Costa Rica, and the only 2 games he'd been to was that Ipswich game I mentioned earlier and Everton away. So it was nice to he's been away for the last 5 months. He hasn't been able to go this year. It's his first game this year. So it was just nice to celebrate, going to the game with him and just celebrating a goal with him. So yeah, no. I suppose that's the moment that made me smile. And also as well, I think Semedo got a good send off. So I was
really happy. He did. Well, has he gone? We'll come on to that in a minute. Chris Humphries is making a point, which is interesting. I think it's worth getting your opinion on that. And Lewis's, and I'll give mine as well. He's on about the as we're on the game from yesterday. He said the substitution of King was a disgrace and shouldn't have happened. It was a surprise to me that he came on. Tom King has posted since saying it's a dream.
Why is it a disgrace? At the end of the day, he's been here for like 2 years. He's obviously been a good servant for the club. But you're bringing him on 10 minutes ago with a game that means nothing. Brentford weren't really. Okay, maybe if we lost, it would have, but we didn't lose.
It was about 5 minutes to go, actually.
Luckily, mate, at the end of the day, he's a good servant. And I know he's brilliant in the dressing room. He did the team talk against Leicester. You see it happen all the while. Nuno did it with Will Norris in the Championship. It's definitely not a disgrace. At the end of the day, it's he's part of the team. He's part of the pack. So if you can't have 5 minutes at the end, then I mean, Chris, I rate you and you got some good opinions, but yeah, I don't agree with that, unfortunately.
No, that's fair enough. I just thought it was a good point because he did come on, and it is a talking point. It's one that we haven't covered. So, Lewis, if you give your ratings and man of the match and everything, and then just your opinion on King as well, coming on for the last 5 minutes plus added time. Hold on, Lewis. I think you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. I agree with George. I didn't think anyone really had an amazing game. Nobody stood out to me as like, oh yeah, they're head and shoulders above anyone else on the pitch. But I would give it Gomez if I had to pick anyone. I thought, yeah, I agree with much of what George said in terms of his development. He really looks like he's matured a lot. I think Andre playing next to him suits him a lot. The style of play. And also, with just those 2 in the midfield, I think it really suits both of them as players. I think if there was a third midfielder in there, it would take away maybe what they do. Maybe you could have an attacking midfielder, but then obviously you'd lose the 5 at the back, which I don't think suits them either. So I really think Gomez was probably the man of the match yesterday. The performance, we didn't lose. Which I think is the best thing you can say. Like I said, the goal wasn't something that it's not overly great to look at. So it's a goal, a good finish, but the way the goal came and everything, it wasn't anything amazing. It was just a long ball, really. So the performance wasn't really great. I can see what George was saying in terms of quite frustrated with the way we were playing and Cunha picking up the ball and I think he was just trying to score so he could have his last goal before he obviously moves on. But maybe that's putting his needs above the team when really we could, be playing for points. And as you said earlier, Dave, we could have finished a couple of places higher in the league and picked up a bit more money. So, that's what it is there. I'd probably give it about 5 or 6, 5.5 if you want. And then the thing that made me smile, I was happy with the lack of honour, the players coming out after the end of the game. It was a good opportunity. I always think it's a important thing. It's a good sign for me that the fans stayed who did, and they gave the players and the coaching staff and Vitor just that appreciation, and they gave it back too. You can see that there's starting to be a really good connection. He's been here a few months. Still very early on, but it looks to me like for the first time since Nuno left, there is that connection between the manager and the fans, which is really important, I think. I think it helps so much in terms of what goes on the pitch. When the manager knows he has the belief of the fans, he knows that there's that connection there. And that says a lot about him too, as a man. And yeah, that's probably my moment of the day. And then to go on to the King stuff, yeah, I don't think it's a disgrace. Earlier, I think just before the start of the season, we did the video, Dave, where we broke down the transfers, and I did say that I think we managed to work out he's on around 10 or 15,000 a week, and that's a lot of money over the course of a year, you know. So I don't necessarily like Tom King's position at the club, because I think we could spend that money differently than having 4 goalkeepers with Sarr, Johnston, Bentley, and him. So I don't necessarily like his position at the club, but when you see reports in the news and people do interviews, he's a really good person in the club. It's not like he's taking this 10, 15,000 a week and doing nothing. You know, he's always involved with the under-23s as well. So, you know, I've seen him a few times play this season, but I don't think it's a disgrace. He definitely deserves the opportunity to at least get an appearance.
Okay. No, I think that's a fair point. Now, you know, it's an interesting point that Chris has raised. I can understand the argument that you could have brought Sarabia on or someone like to try and get a goal. There's 5 minutes to go, so I get that. But also, I think Sarr was also struggling a little bit because he was having Agbadou do all the kicking for him. Did you notice towards the end of the game that Agbadou was in the kicking? So I don't know whether he was also got a slight knock. But the other thing is, I suppose, with Tom King, you know, he's a professional footballer. He's a keeper. He's like effectively, technically number 4 choice. Although Johnson's gone AWOL with illness.
He was there yesterday, though.
Was he?
He was there, yeah. He's on the pitch, like put it on his Instagram and that. But I said, like, that's, you know what the crazy thing is. That's the first Wolves-related thing he's posted since he signed, and he goes to the Man United games. He'll post being there with his son, but nothing about the team. Nothing about the team.
Yeah, no. Well, I think that was a big mistake. His signing, it unsettled Sarr as well. Although he did push Sarr on to push him on when he came back. Johnson obviously had clearly come with the mind of being the number 1 keeper. He's not even the number 4 keeper at the moment. Tom King, you know, Vitor Pereira is a man manager. He's about the team, the squad, about, you know, everybody. And if Vitor Pereira thinks it's a good idea to put Tom King on for what he's contributed through the season to achieve his lifelong dream of playing in goal in the Premier League for, you know, 5 minutes at the end, and he did do a good come out and get the ball.
Didn't do anything wrong. Like,
didn't do anything wrong. But I do understand the argument that we could have put an attacker on to try and win the game. So and it technically that is worth a lot of money. But we've seen ourselves put an attacker on to win the game before, and then we've got it on the counter and lost the game. So you don't know what would have happened.
So Sarabia against Brentford, like, they're a big physical team. I don't think you would have done much anyway. You just don't know, do you? But Tom King obviously very proud that he's achieved that goal. Vitor Pereira has given him that opportunity, and you know that's what the manager's about. And let's be honest as well. Tom King getting 4 minutes at the end is pretty much, I'd say that's the least of our problems right now. So,
well, it is. And guys, we will be. Going next up, we're going to be going on to the summer transfer window, and we will be taking your questions. So if you've got any questions at the end of the show, please make sure that you save them for the end, because we will be answering all your questions on that. Before we get on to the summer transfer window, which I know a lot of you are waiting, we do have another guest that sent in a contribution, which is...
Fans, this is Diddy here in Cork in Ireland, doing a reaction to that match today. I know Wolves didn't win and I didn't get to watch the match because unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, it's hurling season here in Ireland. So Cork were playing Waterford today and Cork did win, so up the Rebels. I know you guys probably don't know much about hurling, but definitely check it out because it's the most amazing game in the whole universe. The main reason I wanted to do this reaction video is to say thank you to Dave and all the Always Wolves crew, to Emma, to Stan, to Moss, to everybody involved, and to say thank you for the content you put out. It keeps us entertained, it keeps me entertained, it keeps us involved, and to meet you guys in person this season and previous seasons, and hopefully next season again, really gives us a bit of a fill up to know that we're part of a community and part of a whole international team that supports Wolverhampton Wanderers. So look, onwards and upwards for next season. Could this season have been better? Of course. Could it have been worse? Of course. So look, onwards and upwards, guys. And thank you again, Dave, especially. All right, take care, guys.
I hope, well, that's another nice surprise. Ever so much that George has gone off. We have another little contribution before we get on. It's not really nice because I haven't watched these as well before I put them on, so they're fresh to me. We've got a young man that wants a couple of minutes. First of all, this is a dial-up. Scott, is it Scott and Jade?
It's just me today, Dave.
Okay. What points would you like to make, young man?
I'd like to say that it's been a roller coaster of a season, hasn't it? It's been a roller coaster and a half.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got to split the season up into two halves. Of one half was absolutely dreadful, and now when I look back, and I kept on backing Gary O'Neill, and I feel so stupid for saying that now. Like, but obviously I weren't to know what was going to come and happen, but now we've got Victor, and it's all quite amazing. So yeah, I'd like to say that obviously now that Manetsi scored his second goal, hopefully it gives him a confidence boost, and he can get more goals to come in the future.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So overall, what would you rate the season out of 10?
Can I do one half, two halves, and then do an average?
Yeah, you can do that. That's the best you have to this year, don't you? Really?
I think the first half can't be any more than a 2 at all. Can't be any more than a 2. And then the second half, I'll give it about 7. So I'll give it like a 5.5 overall.
I think that's a 4.5 out of 4 overall, isn't it? If you're taking a 7 and a 2 in the middle.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to. So don't worry about me. I've been ill today, so.
Well, I hope you're feeling better, Scott. Any other points you'd like to make before we move on?
Sorry, just dropped chat. My question is, do you have any questions for me, Dave? Is what
No. Don't have any questions for you. We're doing Q&A at the end, though. Thingy. I don't have any questions. Does Lewis or George have any questions, or any of the guys in the comments have any questions for Scott before we go to Lewis and George? Any questions for Scott?
What was your moment of the season, Scott? What was the best moment for Wolves this season, do you think?
When Gary O'Neill got sacked.
I've got a question.
Good shout, to be fair, mate. That's a good. I think that was relief for the season, to be fair. But yeah, that's a good shout. George, have you got one from him? I've asked him about his rating for the season.
Yeah, I was going to say, who do you think? Do you think Guedes' performance yesterday was do you think it was worse than some of Fabio Silva's performances?
Well, compared to some of the performances he has had in the season, it's definitely not been his best performance. Silva really didn't have much of an impact on me either. So I think, to be fair, yeah, his that performance yesterday was not good at all. I think he got like a 5.2 on one of the rating scores. So yeah, it's probably yeah.
Yeah, well, I said to my family afterwards, I was like, I actually think Fabio Silva's better than Guedes. So
interesting.
And in a Wolves shirt, anyway. Obviously, Guedes has done other things, but yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. Sorry, Dave. It'd be interesting to see if Victor wants to keep Silva or sells him in the summer.
Definitely not.
It will be. And there's people on TikTok saying, how do you call in? You have to go in on the YouTube if you want to call in, and it's on the link in the description. And everyone will be able to answer some Q&As. Scott, thank you for your contributions this year. Much appreciated.
Thanks for putting me on, Dave, and I hope next season can be the same.
Let's hope indeed. I'll catch you later, pal.
Yeah. All right. See you, Dave. See you guys.
Bye, Scott. See you, mate.
See you later, mate.
So yeah, that was Scott, another one of our callers dialing in. Right then, George, let's start with you. I know you've been waiting for this moment. It's been building up for this. It's summer transfer. Cunha, Fabrizio, here you go. Not quite happened. Might happen this week. Sort of bomb yesterday. Then he drops a mini bomb about Rayan, and City are looking at him. It's like, just drop all these little bombs. We've just finished the season. Cheers. Cunha's come out on his Instagram as well about his. He's made a couple of mistakes. It was a really nice Instagram post, actually. Fair play to him for that. But what's your general take on the Cunha situation, Rayan Nouri, and what needs to happen in the summer? And then, Lewis, obviously, if you can give your thoughts on it as well, and you guys in the chat as well.
Yeah, so I'll start with Cunha. But the first thing I want to say is Cunha is probably one of my favourite players of all time in terms of ability. And I do think he is genuinely a good bloke. I just think he's been quite poorly advised. And, he's obviously got agents in the ear. He's obviously, got the pressures of, I'm in the Brazil squad now. If I want to retain that place, I need to be playing for a bigger name. So I don't think he's done anything malicious. I just think I actually relate with Cunha a bit because we're both quite impulsive people. We wear our hearts on our sleeves. So I kind of get it to a sense. However, he's handled it.
Have you personally gone and dragged someone's glasses off their face in the past?
No. But I'm also not a professional footballer with 30,000 people watching me. But I've never done that.
No,
can't say I have. No, I think what it is with Cunha is he's obviously, when he came to Wolves, there was no way they said to him, you'll be here for 4 years. It was obviously a stepping stone move, wasn't it? So he's obviously had that in his head. Last season, great player, no problems. But I think as soon as Pereira's come in and the structure of the club started to change, the management started to change, he's basically just, him and O'Neill had a great relationship, and I think that is a big part of it. But I don't know if you guys know this, but under O'Neill, apparently there was 4 players he used to cause issues. That was Dawson, Lemina, Sarr, and Cunha. Obviously, Lemina and Dawson he got rid of. Sarr, we kind of needed him because Johnson's been so unreliable.
I think the situation we saw was because of Johnson being pulled in. From what I understand we saw, he was told that they wanted him and he had an opportunity to go and move, but they kept him. Then they brought in Johnson last minute, and that's where it unsettled him because he was like, well, do you want me? Do you not want me? And they messed him about a little bit.
100%, So I think Sarr, you kind of got to give him a free pass because of that. And then with Cunha, it was a case of, okay, he's a problem, but we need him, so let's put up with him and just keep him for the half of the season. So I think, regardless of if Cunha was calling the shots, I think he would have been gone at the end of the season anyway, because I just think he's too much of an issue in the club. But the one thing I don't agree with is how he has managed to manipulate and control our board and to give him a new contract when realistically all we've done is paid him more money for him to leave for a cheaper fee, which I do not agree with. But I think he probably said, I'm leaving. And maybe Matt Hobb said to him, look, stay. We'll give you a pay rise and we'll give you a release clause so you can get your dream move. I don't agree with that side of things. And then obviously he's going to go to Man U. Look, a lot of people say Man U, they're falling off, they're rubbish. But you can't deny they've won 2 trophies in the last 3 seasons. They're a massive club. And obviously Amorim has a project. Whether it'll pay off or not, I'm not sure. But Cunha does fit into their system very well. Now, obviously, in terms of Arsenal and Man City, no, not Man City, Newcastle have been linked. But I think United are the only real team that have a concrete interest. So do I think it's a bit foolish to go there? Potentially. But if it pays off and, United start winning things again, then, he's going to be like a club legend for the biggest club in the world. So that's my sort of 2 sides to the coin with that.
Let's hold that there. We'll come back on to the next point because let's get Lewis's take on the Cunha situation, and then we can move on to Rayan and the rest.
Yeah, I think Cunha is always a player that has a high potential. Even when he came with such a big fee, Atletico Madrid protected themselves by making sure we paid a lot. So he's a player who had a potential, and I think this season, the first time, he's really shown that. Everyone can see the reason People rated him so highly when he was at Atletico, before he got to Atletico Madrid, and it didn't quite work out for him there, and he's come here, and it's like, yeah, when he signed a few years ago, I agree. It was a player that you looked like maybe you do a couple of seasons, and by then you would have moved on. Obviously, it took longer because he hasn't reached the levels that he needed to for us to sell him, because we have to make a profit ourselves. And when you're not playing as well as he has done this season, it's hard to get clubs to spend the kind of money that they're going to this year. I think with the point about his contract, because I think that was a big turning point where he was a really big player for us early on, because he was able to score goals when few players were. And then obviously around Christmas time, when there was interest in him to leave in January, it's hard as a player to not take that risk. It's not every day clubs like the size that Man United and Arsenal, and they are bigger clubs than Wolves. You can't guarantee there's going to be interest in the summer if you're in the January transfer window, because you could get injured, form can drop. I sympathise with him on that, because if your agent is in your ear and telling you need to go now, that there's interest there, it's tough. But I don't think the way he behaved was great. He definitely kind of bordered on a similar level to a player like Nunes, where he was like, "Oh, I'm not really playing." You could see his attitude completely change as soon as he signed that contract. But sometimes you have to just accept that you take the money that you get for him. Maybe it was a bit low, but at the same time, would we have preferred to have lost him in January and risk getting relegated, or just kept him for that extra few months and then took a bit less money, obviously, in the summer than maybe we would have liked? But yeah, I think at Man United, he will have a good career, I think, because I think that as long as Amorim's there, because the way Amorim plays is going to really suit Cunha, in my opinion. He's just going to be on that inside left, just similar to where I said he picks up the ball very often for us, just maybe 10 or so yards behind the D. That's where he's going to be playing at Man United, and you've seen the quality that he has when he's in those positions. And
Lewis, sorry, mate. The one thing I will say is, because he's such an emotional character and he's so transparent, how is he gonna deal with the pressure of playing for Man United? And little things like arguing with the Twitter accounts, that's not going to fly there. You can get away with it at Wolves, but that will not. I live in Salford, don't I? I know what United fans are like. They will not apart from Real Madrid, it's the hardest fan base in the world to please. I mean, I think they've got some brilliant players. If you ask the United fans, they're all rubbish. So I think he'll be good, but I don't think he'll be good enough for them.
I think at the minute, though, George, if you look at who is good enough for them, then I think Man United fans, maybe they have an expectation of that they deserve players like really top players, right at the top. The reality now is very different for Man United. They can't get those players anymore, and I think that's been a big issue for the transfers. They've signed players because they pay the most, rather than they can attract the best players.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a big issue has come for them. And I think Cunha, he will really suit the manager. And where the issue might come, George, I think, is if they sack the manager, because Cunha is a really unique player. And he can't play a striker on his own like Larsen. He's not that. But he's not a very quick winger like someone like Pedro Neto. He's a bit in between. And he really relies on a manager playing to his strengths. When you play to his strengths, it's fantastic. But when you don't, that's where I think he could struggle. And then you'll have the issues with, arguing back with the fan accounts on Twitter and criticising the media. And that obviously isn't what anybody wants. No, it doesn't look good. But as long as Amorim is there, I think he'll be a success.
Interestingly, I mean, my thoughts on Cunha, I've met him a couple of times. I met him at the service station, dinner with his family. Really affable guy. Got a smile on his face and stuff. He's made some, I think, in his own words today on his Instagram that he put out, he's made some questionable decisions on how he's dealt with stuff. I've mentioned on here before, I don't think he does all his own social media either, because it was one of his family members that was doing it the day that we had a good chat with him at the services, and I was airdropping him his Fulham goal. But, he's 7 games this season he's been suspended for. He does have the red mist. You have heard the multiple times from different things that he is a little bit of the big man in the dressing room. I'm the main man. And you have to say he single-handedly in the first half of the season contributed so much to getting the points that we did. But it was interesting that when he was suspended and we were all panicking with that sending off after at the end of the FA Cup, which probably cost us going a lot further in the FA Cup as well. And who knows what could have happened after that. But he was out for 4 games and we took 10 points. And that was the start of that big run that we had. And Vitor Pereira did the right thing. He didn't bring him straight back into the side. We won the next game. And actually, since he's been back in the game properly in the team, we've only picked up 1 point, really, or maybe 4 points. So it's interesting because football is not a game of individuals. You can get players that have got individual moments of brilliance, but the best teams are the teams that get more out of the whole team and as a cohesive unit. And I wonder, we're going to Manchester United. Personally, Cunha stated that he wanted to play at the highest level and win things. Well, going to Manchester United right now, they're going to be playing in the Premier League the same as Wolverhampton Wanderers next year. So from that point of view, it's a sideways step. Yeah, they're a big club. They're a big pull, and I'm sure he's probably on even more wages. But there's a lot of clubs out there that would have, if it had waited, would have been interested in bringing Matheus Cunha, and he would have been probably playing Champions League football this year. And there is no guarantee that next year he goes to Manchester United and they're back in Europe the year after. Now, looks like they want to bring in some players and stuff like that. Matheus Cunha is looking like he's going to Manchester United. But you look at all the players that they brought in, these big name players, Sancho and all the rest of them. There's only really, what's his name, Fernandes.
Well, Rio Ferdinand said the other day, since Fergie left, they've made 49 signings and only 3 of them have actually paid off.
Well, exactly. They've all gone there and all failed to exceed expectations. They've underachieved. And I know they're talking about this project at Manchester United, the project. They've been saying that every year since Fergie left. And now they're building a big top. They're on about building a big top for him to play in. I mean, I just think Cunha is a decent guy underneath. He's got a great family and stuff like that. I just think Manchester United is either going to go there and he's going to be the new Cantona and he's going to be a legend at Manchester United, or it could knock his career back.
I could completely finish his career, and I'm surprised the fact he's failed at big clubs before. I'm surprised he wants to take that risk. But you know what? Fair play, because as I said, if it does pay off,
then
he'll obviously be a legend for a huge club. But if it doesn't, he's taking a risk. But
I think it is. I wish him
all the best. To be honest, I know some people won't agree with this, but at the end of the day, he's given us 2 years of brilliant memories, and at the end of the day, he dunked on the Albion, so I can't.
Well, yeah, and
any player who does that, they're my.
We've had some magical moments, and we've been lucky to have it. I would have liked to have him fully focused for at least another year under Vitor Pereira, because I do think there is a, and we're going to come on to this, there is the thing that he could have been looking across at Wolverhampton Wanderers next year, and if everything goes to plan in the summer, and thinking I could have been part of that, but we'll see. Next one, George first, and then Lewis again. Rayan Aït-Nouri being linked to Manchester City. I think he's also been linked to Liverpool. Fabrizio, I think, has mentioned that today. What are your thoughts on that?
It's disappointing, isn't it? Because it's basically it's going to be all season, isn't it? I mean, how long is it going to be before Andre's getting linked with big teams?
Well, apparently Semedo's been linked to Man United today as well.
No way. I don't think that would happen. But as I said,
maybe they just want to buy our entire team. Maybe.
I mean, one of my best mates is a United fan, and he absolutely loves Totti as well. So, but yeah, it's just disappointing, because why can't we ever hold on to any players? If we keep selling, we're just going to become a selling club. I mean, we didn't actually need to sell Pedro Neto, did we? And everyone will say, well,
he wanted to go, didn't he?
He didn't.
Crying.
He was crying.
Hold on, Lewis. You got some thoughts on that?
I do think I see this a lot, George, and obviously in the comments and stuff. I think the issue we have as a club, as Wolves, it's really hard to build something to the level that the clubs that our players go to. It's tough for us to get to that level, and that means our best players are always going to be attracted by those clubs. I mean, even at Newcastle, Isaac, he's Newcastle are going to be a fantastic club in the next many years to come because of the owners that they have. The way they're investing is really smart. But even Isaac, their top player, he's probably going to move this summer, I would say. So even Newcastle have to part with their best players. And I think that it's something that the fans, we just have to accept. We can really try and build, and you can really try and be smart. But even Villa, who have had a lot of success in the past couple of years, they're rebuilding part of their stadium. They're in the Champions League this season, and they're qualified for Europa League again next season. Even they're going to have to sell more players after the amount that they sold in January and in the summer before. It's just the way it is at the moment, and I don't think we can be angry with the club for that. That's something that you have to really go to the league with and say this is a situation that's wrong and it's not fair. We can't be angry with the club for that.
No, I sort of get what you're saying, but you can't have that mentality. You're watching the Crystal Palace fans partying at Wembley. You've seen Forest having a great season. We're not that far off these clubs. Like we should be aiming to win trophies, give the fans success. Like I understand what you're saying. The league doesn't really allow it, but take the signing of Agbadou, for instance. We didn't have to spend like loads of money on him.
Yeah, it's just about being smart, George. Absolutely, and you saw that at Brighton for a few years, where Brighton were consistently signing fantastic players. This season, maybe because the manager is quite young and it's only his second club, they've kind of gone off the boil a bit now. So I think you do get kind of periods where a club will be really successful for 3, 4, 5 years maybe, and then the cycle ends and they've sold all their best players, they've all moved on, and the players that they've replaced them with just haven't quite had the same quality coming in. And I think we saw that obviously when we lost Nuno, fantastic manager, and the players that he was able to bring in, it happened, George. I think until the league changed the system that's in place, it's impossible for those 6, 7 clubs to lose their position.
I don't agree with that because
this is why we love the debates. Go on.
No, sorry, mate. And as I said, nothing personal, but the thing is, we replaced Neto with Carlos Forbes, who hasn't played all season. We lost our outlet.
No, Neto was replaced pretty much really by Gomez, Rodrigo.
Yeah. Again, like
and Neto replaced Jota.
Did he?
Yeah, that was all succession plan, the whole thing.
Well, I mean, that was a mistake then, because whoever thought we need to get rid of Jota.
No, but George, these players, they have personal ambitions too. They, as much as they love Wolves, and you ask lots of these ex-players like Jota or Neves, they will always say Wolves is a very special club.
Nuno had him on the bench against Sheffield United.
He did. Well, yeah, Nuno, who a lot of people would have loved to have come back from Saudi before we had Gary O'Neill and linked with Beale and everything. But at the end of the day, Jota got an offer from Liverpool, the same as Cunha's got an offer from.
If you're sat on the bench for Wolves, there's absolutely no chance you're going to turn down a deal. If you're playing for Wolves and you're offered like first team football, there's more of a chance. So, look, I understand what you're saying. Football is a business now, but you've got to have that ambition. And for me, if we sell out Nori, it just shows that that's who we are, because we're not going to have any creative players left. Sarabia's going, Cunha's going out, Nori's going. We're not going to have any creative players left. We're going to be a team with no quality that just work hard, and that will send you.
I'll tell you what, George. It's a good point that you make there, because that is the way I look at the summer at this point in time. I look at the goalkeeping situation. I think Sarr probably will stay now. I think Vitor likes him. I think we still need to bring in another number 2 or another keeper for me. I look at the defence, which we all knew was going to be a problem before the start of this season. We talked about it. If there's a problem, we're weak, and it cost us. They've resolved that issue with bringing in Agbadu. Totti Gomez, who you love, and has had his critics as well, always gives 150. He's got a rick in him occasionally, but he always gives everything, and he's starting to really look like a Premier League player now. So you're going to have Agbadu, Totti Gomez. Yerson Mosquera, early season, he looked like a Rolls Royce until he got injured. He should be back on the right-hand side.
I think Matt Doherty might have something to say about that, though.
Well, he might, but I'll come on to Matt Doherty. And then if you bring Hugo Bueno back from Feyenoord on that left-hand side, the thing with Rayan Aït-Nouri and Chris Humphreys will, I mean, he'll have Chris Humphreys, for example, cheerful Chris, he can't wait to get rid of, he's not his favourite player of Rayan because he does create for us, and Rayan Aït-Nouri has created something like 11 goals.
11 goals this season,
which is more than any other defender. But it is fair to say he's cost us goals. He cost us a goal yesterday. He cost us a goal against Crystal Palace when he was out of position and they just, the second goal when there was no one there in the left-back position. He's probably cost us 9 goals because of his being out of position defensively.
Well, I thought you just throwing numbers out there.
No, not well. He's cost us 2 in the last 2 games.
Yeah, well, you can't just say he's probably cost us 9 goals.
Okay, well, someone will probably be able to.
Yeah, that might be true, but you can't really just throw numbers out. Sorry, but yeah,
he also. I'm not saying he's a bad player because he's a very, 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 very good player, and which is why he's wanted by the likes of Manchester City. But Manchester City play a system whereas they don't really defend that much. You know what I mean? It's a different type of player. But I think if you brought in someone like Hugo Bueno in that wing-back position who can cross the ball and get forward, you can possibly play Rayan a little bit further forward.
Definitely.
He hasn't got so much sense. And then Semedo's an issue on the right. If Semedo goes, it's a problem for me because he is just... He struggled in his first year. He admitted that, but his defensive and attacking duties, he's nailed it. He doesn't get caught out of position a lot. So I really, really hope that Semedo stays because if he goes, we've got to bring someone in. We have got young Pedro Lima. On Matt Doherty, you make a really good point. He's my unsung hero for the season, actually, Matt Doherty.
What a season he's had. Even under O'Neill, he was good.
Pereira's come in and put him at that and said, look, I don't want you going up and down the pitch. You're at your certain age. He's very, very good defensively. He's Mr. Consistent. He sits in. But Matt Doherty is going to be part of the squad next year because he's going to be Mr. Versatile. He can slot in at centre-back, right centre-back. He can do full-back. He can do wing-back. He can even play on the left wing-back positions. So he's going to be an important squad player. Then you go forward into the midfield next year. Andre and Gomez are absolutely not for sale for any money, in my opinion. They are the heartbeat of the club. You can't sell them for me because they're just together. I think there's question marks over what will happen with Tommy Doyle. By the way, Tommy Doyle, what a great guy. I just want to put this up on the screen, actually, whilst I'm talking about Tommy Doyle, if you don't mind, because you know how my dad thinks a lot of him. Well, at the end of the game yesterday, this is what Tommy Doyle did. He came over off the pitch to us to come and see my dad and speak to my dad, and come over with his lovely girlfriend Rebecca as well. Obviously, I speak to his dad, and I speak to Tommy a little bit. And he came over, and that's the class of the guy. Yeah, he doesn't moan, he doesn't complain. He hasn't got the minutes to deserve. He's a great player.
Can I just say something about Doyle?
Yeah.
If he is to go, I think it's really important we loan him out instead of selling because, let's be honest, knowing our track record with managers, Pereira could be gone in January. So, you can't sell a player of that quality because I think he's unbelievable. He just doesn't fit the system, but I think he's been quite harshly treated, but yeah, it's so important we loan him.
I can tell you something now, right? Look, this is pretty much from the horse's mouth. He didn't like Gary O'Neill. Gary O'Neill, the way he was with him. Tommy Doyle is someone that likes to be, if you shit or crap he likes to be told and stuff like
Yeah,
that. He got on really well with Vitor Pereira. The problem with the way that Pereira plays is he sees Tommy more as a not as a six, which is where I think he played at City. Is more of a
down against Liverpool, didn't he, in the 10, and he looked good. So I don't know why he hasn't had more opportunities.
No, yeah, and obviously he's at an age where he needs to play football. So I think there's a bit of a sell-on thingy. So I hope that Tommy gets a move or a loan. I'd rather him go out on loan, get some football, and he still be a Wolves player. And because I still think he's got something. I think he's got something in him, but he needs to play football, doesn't he? I think if Sheffield United had got promoted, it would have been a natural one for him to go there because, like, he played there before. But then you got Boubacar behind him, and Manetsi can play in there. So we got the midfield. We probably still need to bring the issue that you've made, which is absolutely right, George. The forward areas are going to be.
There's no creativity, is there? And Doyle's another one of those players.
And I want to come onto Lewis about on the forward areas. Lewis, what do you think? Who's going to go? What do you think is going to happen? Because I think that's where there's going to be the biggest change in the forward areas, Lewis.
Sorry about that.
You've upset him, look. Throwing his phone around.
I tripped over my charger.
Comedy moment.
Right, it's got to be done. You know what I mean,
Lewis?
Yeah, possibly though, because obviously Cunha's leaving, and as I said earlier, the type of player Cunha is, it's hard to find that type of player. So I don't see us directly replacing Cunha with another Cunha. We will change the style of play up front, I think, but we do need to replace our attacking options because I think you look at them now really, and obviously Larsen's going to be the striker next season.
Yeah,
I would say a striker has to be someone we're looking at in the summer because, firstly, to give Strand Larsen competition. When you have a player trying to get your shirt, you play better because you know if you're poor one week, then you're probably not going to be playing next week. So I think a striker is a priority, but also if he gets injured, who is there? So a striker is definitely a priority. Rodrigo Gomez, he looks to me like Vitor sees him more as a wing back, similar to Ait-Nouri actually. I know, obviously, I think he's right-footed, Rodrigo Gomes. So maybe he could be one to look at on that right-hand side to replace Nelson, and maybe we'd bring in a slightly more
on that side. Rodrigo played on that side in pre-season, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. That's something that, Dave, it might be the case where if we sell out Nouri, rather than our left back being so attacking, it might be our right back with Rodrigo Gomez being more attacking, and we have a better defender at left wing back. And those sides kind of swap. But we still need more forwards, and I think that's every club would say that, Dave. You know, hear all the time in the news and on podcasts like this for other clubs. Everybody wants to sign strikers and wingers because they score you the goals and they win games for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because let's face it, Sarabia is going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that definite? Because the fact he didn't bring him on yesterday, I'm not saying.
Well, he's had a contract, and Sarabia is a really nice guy. There's so many things about him. He's a very nice guy, and he is quality. We've seen moments of brilliance from Sarabia. The goal against Man United, the goal against Tottenham Hotspur the year before, both pretty much goal contenders. You know, he's got that in him, but he's out of contract, so he's also was the highest paid player at Wolves. I think Cunha's probably overlapped him, so they'll let him go. He'll go off the wage bill, and Cunha will and Pablo Sarabia will probably end up back in Spain or somewhere like that. Gonçalo Guedes, he's probably going to go. Fabio Silva's probably going to go.
Wang will probably go. He put out a pretty weird message on his Instagram yesterday.
Who's that?
Wang put out a pretty weird message on his Instagram yesterday.
Did he?
Well, it was like kind of implying, like, you know.
Well, I think Gary O'Neill really liked Wang, but then he did make baking cakes most games. You know, they were laughing about it and stuff like that. Joking. but he was like Gary O'Neill had played Wang a lot, and Lopetegui played Wang a lot. But looking at Vitor Pereira, he hardly plays him. Now, obviously, Wang is from a South Korean market type of thing. Is like, you know, we get a lot of views and stuff like that. So I don't know what will happen with that. But to me, you're in the team because you can play football, and we have seen that from Wang. So if you look at Guedes going, Sarabia going, maybe Wang, you talk about possibly 8. You are right about the creativity, but Vitor Pereira also says he wants players that are good in one-on-one situations because he wants them to take them on and cup thing. And I was speaking to someone from the Fans Advisory Board that had a meeting last week or the week before. Jeff was there, and I was talking to them, and they were basically saying that they get the vibe that they understand they've got a good manager with Vitor Pereira, and they don't want to mess this up, and that there is a plan for the summer, and they will back the man, back Vitor Pereira. And what's your thoughts on that, Lewis?
I'm very confident, Dave, that this summer will look very different to the summers we've had in the past 2 or 3 years. I'm very confident. We will obviously lose players, and we'll probably sell 2 big players. That'll probably be Cunha and Aït-Nouri. So we will be a selling club in that regard. And I think the fans, you know, as I was saying earlier, you can't be angry with the club for that. If you want to be an ambitious club, you need ambitious players. And ambitious players take on their chances when the big clubs come knocking. So you have to deal with that. But I think I'm very confident we will have a really good summer, and the players we need will be here before the start of the season, and the manager will be backed. I'm very confident.
I'm getting the vibe as well that there's a plan and there's players ready to come in that know who they are and stuff like that as well. So, look, they better add be, because it is a big summer. We know what it's been in the last, how we've gone backwards. We've skirted round the drain of this relegation. The year after next, it's the 150th anniversary of this great football club as well. You know, 150, it's a special year for us. They don't want to be in the Championship and stuff like that. One other consideration to think about, there's another 60 million that's dropping off from 3 years ago on the PSR side of things. So this summer, what with the PSR situation and any player sales, and don't forget, some of these players, the Cunha thing will probably be stagnated over 4 years by the looks of it.
That's actually better for FFP.
Yeah, but from a PSR FFP situation, we are going to be in the strongest position that we have been for 3 or 4 years, and I think there's going to be a lot of change this summer. I don't think it's going to be a revolution. I think it's going to be an evolution, and you're going to see players come out, and you're going to see a crop of players that are going to come in, a bit like the early days with Nuno, that are going to come in and hopefully make their mark. And I feel quite positive that that's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, then we're in real trouble. But I think like Lewis, I really think this summer they'll surprise us, or they'll surprise some of you. Lewis, is that the feeling that you're getting as well?
Absolutely, Dave. I am very, as I said, I'm very confident the players we need. I'm very confident that the correspondence between the manager and the club is very clear. The manager will tell the club what he needs to be successful and for us to be achieving the goals that are going to be put in place, and the club will then go and get those players. I think it's going to be very, very clear to what we need. I think it is to the fans. You can see what we need.
Can I throw in a curveball?
You can always throw in a curveball, George.
Dave, I would like to throw in a massive curveball. So obviously, you're confident we've got a plan, and Ferguson's going to back Pereira, all that. But in January, we tried to sign a player from Victoria Pleasant, and he would rather stay in Portugal, go to Benfica, than play for Wolves. Now that suggests to me that our pull isn't. I know we've secured.
In respect to that, though, George, we were looking like we were getting relegated, and it was a relegation battle.
Oh, of course,
players are looking at this very differently. players are going to look at us very differently now when, you know, in the form table, Wolves were in the top half of the table for the last sort of second half of the season. Vitor Pereira has been nominated for Manager of the Month. You know, and we've gone from 9 points to 40 odd points. So you can understand some players will go in, I don't fancy that, thanks. But now that the manager's stabilised and, you know, has shown what he can do, and like Wolves are probably going to be a lot better proposition in the summer than.
No, I agree with that. But what my point is, okay, hear me out. So you said we need to sell out Nori to free up funds, right?
I didn't say we need to sell out Nori. He might go. We might.
Yeah.
Vitor Pereira wants to keep him.
But yeah, exactly. So if the manager wants to keep him, you want to back the manager. Why wouldn't you want to keep him? But what
Because
I'm saying,
it'll be Rayan Nuri that decides he wants to go, and it's him. Don't forget,
Okay.
Nelson Semedo he's 31 years of age. He has got a 4-year contract on the table with the good money on the table right now. For a 31-year-old, a 4-year contract is a sign of we want you to stay.
oh, of course, yeah, 100%. But
So
what I'm saying,
Semedo to decide.
ain't Nori, right?
Yeah.
You're saying we want to build, we want to rebuild, but we're not going to be able to sign anyone as good as him because we don't have the pull to do that. So you've got to keep hold of some of your good players, especially when they're already outlet left. That's what I'm trying to say.
There's two things that I can say to that. So obviously the pull in terms of where we are in January, where we were in January and where we are now is obviously very different. I think a player, was it Zagreb you said, maybe they looked at Benfica and saw the players who've recently left Benfica. So, for example, Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea, Gonzalo Ramos to PSG, João Neves to PSG.
Yeah,
the path that he could have seen and his agents would have told him, you can go to Benfica and then you can go to those clubs, or you can get relegated with Wolves and then it's very tough to go out the Championship. So I think that's and then you compare that to us now. Now we look like a side who are a bit more secure, a bit more stable. You know, we had a good run, so I would say that I think the pull is very different now. We would be able to find players.
I'm not sure that point stands because Cunha did the same thing when we're looking like we're going to get.
Yeah, of course, and every player is different. We did sign 2 fantastic players in January, you know, Manetsi and Larsen. So every player is different.
100%, yeah.
The point about rebuilding, I think that this is where I would like to use Newcastle as a really good example because Newcastle are building to be the best team in the country. That's what their ultimate goal is with their owners, the most ambitious. You know, that over the next 10 years, they probably will spend more money than everybody else because they're really pushing towards that. But because they will have to sell their players to get there, it will be like a step. You know, you buy some, you spend a bit of money, and you level off and you sell a little bit, then you go back up. So it's such a hard thing to do to reach the level that they're going to want to reach. And that's obviously to be at the top in England. And that should be every club's ambition. Everyone should be working towards being the best in the league. But it's such a hard thing to do. So sometimes you have to make those tough decisions and say, we can take 35 million from Aït-Nouri, 62.5 from Cunha. And then that gives us from 2 players that we're going to have to sell. That will give us 90-something million to then go and buy 3 or 4 players who we then can develop, sell again. Maybe one of them won't work, so then we'll sell 3 players for a similar amount of profit. Then you have 120 million after you sold those 4 players. And you just keep working, and it's so hard, and it takes so much time, and the system that the league have in place is against us, and all the other clubs trying to do the same thing. But that's, you know, it's nothing to do with, it's not the fault of the owners. And I think that's something that selling players.
At the same time, Dave just mentioned we're getting 60 million because of FFP reset. Yeah. We're going to get about 20 million for Fabio. We're going to get 62 for Aït-Nouri. Semedo and Sarabia's wages are going to be off the wage bill and Cunha's wages. So,
and that's why I absolutely
we don't need to sell players. We don't need to.
That's why I think the window will be fantastic for us in comparison to the past 2 or 3 windows.
Oh, 100%. But what I'm saying is you've got to keep some of the good players we have because we're not going to have the pull to get players of Aït-Nouri standard in. That's all I'm saying.
No, yeah, absolutely. So it's like if we're going to sell Aït-Nouri and we're going to get 35 million for it. We're not going to sign, a left back for 35 million. You know, we're going to sign we're going to have either Hugo Bueno or we're going to go and spend 15 million on a left back. So that left back's not going to be as good as Aït-Nouri. But what we have to hope for is that that left back that we bring in will be slightly better than Ait-Nouri. And then we have a better left back in a year or two. And hopefully you never have a period of time, which we did have probably for the past 3 or 4 years, where all of our good players have gone at the same time. You know, we had a period where we lost Neves, Jota, Raul, Doherty in a very quick time. Neves was obviously a bit later. We lost Raul due to injury, Jota and Doherty in the same season. So that's why we were so, we struggled so much that season. So hopefully you never lose all of your players who have kind of developed as much as you can as a club at the same time. And that's why if we can sell just Cunha and Ait-Nouri, keep Agbadou, keep Andre and Joe Gomez, well then maybe next season or season after we sell those players. But by then, our left back that we bought in and our left winger that we bought in to replace Cunha and Ait-Nouri, well, they're then in their best moments. So, it's such a tricky thing to do. It's so hard.
It is hard. And that's why, I don't think objectively our owners have done too bad in terms of where we are compared to where we were. But there's so many obvious mistakes that have happened. And there has
been a lot of mistakes. And this is the point.
So I just don't trust that they're saying, we'll spend money. But who are we going to buy? You know what I mean? And Pereira could fizzle out and we sign all these players. And then in January, we get a new manager in. So they've got to be very careful.
But then, George, you're talking about having ambition and positivity, and then you're looking negative. Oh, what happens if this? You can't think like that. You've got to. Vitor Pereira's come in, and the difference between him and Gary O'Neill is the fact that Gary O'Neill, in my opinion, was never committed to this club properly. Because he travelled back pretty much most days. He didn't really stay up here. The training was later on in the day. He got rid of the hotel things, stopping over the night before the game. They could eat whenever they wanted. They didn't eat as a team. Vitor Pereira's come in and straight away they're back to having hotel stays overnight. The training's a lot earlier. They're eating together and doing all these things with the team. He's embraced the city and the fan base in a way that only Nuno has done in his time since being here. He's gone down the pubs and had pints with the fans. He's come in with the team and he's built a belief within that team. He's made some very difficult decisions at the start and bombed a couple of players out, which harshly in some ways or not, but he's made that decision to do. And he's come in. And the other thing that Vitor Pereira has over the likes of Gary O'Neill, who's sitting there waiting, picking up his paycheck, waiting for a club that's near him to come in for him, which is probably where he'll be happiest. Vitor Pereira has had 500 odd games working his entire life to get to have this opportunity as being a coach in the best league in the world. He has fought tooth and nail. His dream is to be doing that. And this is why this is a manager that's going to give everything to make it a success, which is why it's important which is why it's so important, which is quite rightly, and everyone's right with saying they have to back him properly because he's 150% committed. And if they do, which is why I'm quite positive, and I think they will do this time round, because from the vibes that I'm getting from various sources is lessons have been learned. I can tell you for a full fact that I don't think Fos and hierarchy have been very happy with what's happened at Wolves either. And there were emergency meetings back in December and January, and things have sort of changed a little bit. They've made the right things. They've kept to the word in terms of the season ticket prices. They shouldn't have gone up as much as they should have done in the year before anyway. But they have frozen it. They've made a bit of a botch up with the PR with the women's team. But ultimately, we have 150th anniversary in a year's time. It is also the World Cup in that year. We're the only club that's owned by a Chinese company as well. So, and the alignment with the FFP and the money that we will have to spend and with the tightness around what we've had over the previous 2 or 3 years isn't going to be there. Lewis has made the point that it's going to be there for other clubs. Man United, they've just lost 60 to 100 million pounds from not getting the Champions League. Newcastle have got more wealth in their owners than any other club put together, but they've got a ceiling on what they can do because of the PSR.
I think Newcastle now are free to spend, because I'm pretty sure Eddie Howe came out and said it.
Well, they've got through a difficult period, but they still might lose Ivan Toney, like what we were saying, because teams will come in for him. So the only thing that we can do is hope and have some faith that they're going to do that. And if they don't, then they really are stupid. But I really think that this year there's going to be a lot of change, and there is a plan. And
yeah, I mean, if they give it a good go and they spend money and they do back Vita and it doesn't work out, then that's just unlucky. But
yeah,
let's say they sell out Nori, they sell Cunha, and then they bring in players that are nowhere near that level. Obviously, we're not going to sign players that match that level, but you need those creative players. We have to sign.
When Cunha came to Wolves, out of all of the transfers that came in, he was the one that never performed in that first year. He only started performing last year. He did nothing really in the first 6 months after that January window. Rayan Aït-Nouri, when we bought him, the people were thinking, who's he? And now you're talking about losing him for like 40, 50 million. No one knew these players when we bought them. They were like, Cunha, he's sitting on the bench. Raul, when we bought him, sitting on the bench.
Do you really want to go through another 2 years of just, let's wait till these develop?
No, exactly right.
The players that we have now, like Andre, João Gomez, Agbadou, those players, you're not in a position where all of your players are not where you want them to be.
What's those the three players? With all those players you just mentioned, none of them can pass the ball. Like, none of them have that never start pass. That's my point. We need to bring in those creative players, like Premier League proven. We have to go down.
Who would you say would have that never start pass out of the players we're going to look at? I don't see Aït-Nouri. Maybe Cunha can pass the ball well, but Aït-Nouri isn't a never start.
My point is, though, he's an outlet.
Yeah, but maybe in terms of João Gomez, you might see more of him next season in terms of an outlet, because if you scored 10 goals this season, Cunha probably would have scored 6 or 7 of them. He would have been involved with 6 or 7. If we're still going to score 10 goals next season, it's just that the distribution of goals and assists is just going to be spread more widely, I would say. So
100%. But we, as I said, we need to bring in like some creative players, because the team we've got now, it's too hard working.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think, and that was Vitor said when he signed Marshall Manetsi. He said, we have a team of players at the moment who love to have the ball. We need some runners. So then they signed Manetsi because he's somebody who's going to work really hard off the ball. So now we're going to sell those 2 players who do probably the most with the ball, Aït-Nouri and Cunha. Well, they need time to replace those and make sure that the players that we've still got are getting to a point where, they're performing very well and would be comfortable without those other 2 players.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think for me, obviously, it's bias as well, because I love watching these players. And for me, that's what I pay the money for. I don't really pay the money to see, big tackles. I want to see like really good players, Brazilian flair. I want to see that flair. That's what I'm paying the money to go and see. So that is one thing. I'm obviously going to be a bit biased.
Well, you talk about Brazilian flair. Our 2 midfielders are Brazilian.
Oh, 100%. And
Pedro Lima, he's Brazilian. We've
they're
been
struggling,
aren't we, with Yuri Alberto, who isn't he playing for Corinthians and has been banging the goals in there?
He scored 34 goals.
And we've been strongly linked with him. Now, if Yuri Alberto comes in, are you going to be happy about that?
100%. 100%.
So, like I say, we don't know what's going to happen. We've just got to hope that they really get it right. And you are right. We've got to have the creative players. Vitor Pereira has already said he wants players that can take people on one-on-one, i.e. exciting players that can run with the ball. That's what he wants, because he wants people running with the ball, off the ball, to create the spaces for our strikers to be able to come into the position and score. And with Manetsi, although he has got a bit of he's missed a few, he's also created a lot of goals with his runs. and his
Yeah.
pressing and stuff like that. So it's going to be an evolution. I'm going to end that there now because we could talk about this, couldn't we, all night long. So
Can I just
guys,
say, if any of you got offended by my opinions, like I'm just
no.
No, in the chat, I've seen people in the chat saying, "Oh, I don't know what you've been smoking or whatever," but the way I see it is, come on this channel, and I've been honest, and that's what makes good television. And if you like more of it, follow me on TikTok, George Talks Football.
It is good television. Now we've got nearly 800 people watching live. There'll be thousands more that'll watch it back, and there'll be loads more that'll listen to it on things. We've got loads watching. And George, your opinion's great. We love it, and the thing that we always try to do is we want different opinions because that creates the really interesting debate. And when you've got like 700 odd people watching you live, not everyone's going to agree with your point, so they're going to contribute in the chat. So don't take it too personally. It's just
personally. I'm just saying, like, this is me. This is what you get. And like, I don't have Lewis's football knowledge, but I am a passionate fan. I go to all the games, so.
You are a passionate fan and we love it. We've got currently only 68 lives on the live. Come on, guys, hit that like button. If you're enjoying this, let us know. So that's fantastic. Now, look, we're going to do a Q&A now. So this is a Q&A for me, Lewis and Lucas for the last 10 minutes of the show. Just whilst you start to put your questions and be quick, because I'm going to select some questions to put down. I do want to remind you that you can get on to I'm actually really loving this app. We've had a few apps on here over the years. This is probably the best one that I think we've ever had. It's a cross between bingo and football. And a couple of we've got some people that are playing it. They've been winning, like, got a message saying I've won 50 quid, I won 60 quid. And it's so easy to play. The way it works is that in a football game, and they've even got it on the darts as well, that different things happen during the game. You've got your bingo card, they tick them off, you win a line or you win a house, and there's up to £250 per game or event that happens. The QR code is on the screen. You must be 18 plus to play and a UK resident. And they've also got an offer on the moment. If you put £5 in, you get £10 bonus, so effectively £15 to play with the game. So it is, honestly, it is so simple to play. It's a genius idea. Bingo, football and darts all mixed in. So next up, let's have a look at, have we got any questions? David Mills says, great meeting you after the game. Welcoming bunch, especially Legend Magic. Do you think we have the best midfield duo outside the top six? George and I think George has gone off camera at the moment, but Lewis, go with that one first.
We have a good midfield duo, and it's one of the top outside the top six, but it's not the best. I think that Newcastle's midfield, if you talk about just two players in the midfield, someone like Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, fantastic players. Aston Villa, they've got Tillemans and Onana. There's some really good midfields. We've got a good one for sure, but I don't think we have the best now. I would swap both João Gomes and Andre, as much as I love them, for Tonali and Guimaraes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Your thoughts? Do you think we've got the best midfield duo outside the top six?
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, Ivan Tony that played for thingies, of course, it's Isaac. Sorry, it began with an I, and that's why I got confused. Apologies for that. You are right.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of like ball winning, I agree. I think they are the best, but they're not offering many goals. They don't really have that killer pass. So I think in terms of the ball winning side of it, I think either of them could play for like a Man City or a Liverpool quite comfortably. But as I said, like the balance isn't quite there. But it's still a very good midfield, and it's probably the best bit of our team. But yeah, I don't think that balance is quite there to be the best outside the big six, to be honest.
Fair enough. Question from North Street here. Lewis, if we say get 100 million, how much do you think Victor will get to spend of that? Bearing in mind, of course, they have to take a little view as well on the January window, because not all of it's going to be thrown into the summer window.
Right, if you look at the 100 million coming from the two players of Ait Nouri and Cunha, because if you get 35 million for Ait Nouri, and we're going to get 62.5 from Cunha. It's about 100 million. I would say Vitor gets 75 to 80
in the summer.
On from just those two player sales. Obviously, if we sell more players, they'll get more.
Yeah.
But if you just give him what I think he'll get about 80% of the money we bring in on player sales. And
that's just for the summer window or across both windows?
I would go from both. So if he has 100 million, he will get 80, I think, in the summer, and then maybe they'll hold back. So between 75 and 80, and then they'll give him 10 and 15 in January, because it's tough in January, Dave, to get the players.
Absolutely. You got thoughts on that, George?
It's difficult to say because you don't. I mean, Lewis, you said 35 million for Aït-Nouri. I'd really hope we get a lot more than that, to be honest. I'd hope it'd be in the 50 region. If Brighton can do it, then we should be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, I think I would love to, George, and I'm sorry just to stop you.
No worries.
I would love to get more, but I think Man City are very smart, and I can't really remember a time Man City paid well over the odds for a player. I think when Brighton are selling those players to Chelsea too. Yeah, maybe. But as well, with Aït-Nouri, it's a tough one because of his contract. He only has that one extra year. And the club do have an option for the further year, but I think he still has to agree to it. It's not just the club can say we're adding a year on.
The good thing is, as well, dealing with Man City, obviously we got Tommy Doyle last time for Nunes, so we can get O'Reilly or McAtee or someone in return, then I'll definitely take that. I think Man City are the best team to deal with. But yeah, in terms of summer budget, I mean, I'd expect we get some money for Fabio. I'd expect Guedes will have a fee. Hwang will have a fee. So yeah, I mean, I'll try and stay positive and say maybe at 80 million, but I think we need more than that because
do a lot with 80 million.
Oh yeah, if they're smart, then there will be.
Remember, we bought Joe Moutinho for 5 million. If George Mendes can weave and can weave his magic for us, and he's a lot more back, and he's sort of back involved again now with the Wolves. If he can pull out a couple for us,
look at the team. Apart from Cunha and Semedo, none of those players who are in the team now cost above 20 million. So it shows that. And then, like, you look at Guedes, who's not good enough. He costs way too much. So you stay for going for that sort of 15 million kind of. I know I said we need to sign players who are Prem proven, but at the same, I was maybe one or two, but generally
there might be one player that they bring in that they pay a little bit more for, but I think the majority are going to be between that £5 to £20 million. I would say. Next question. I'm not going to say who do you think we will play. I'm going to ask you. Who would you go do first with this one? Who do you want to play first next game this next season?
Burnley at home. Start off nice and easy. Nice and easy win.
See, I'd say Burnley at home with the momentum they got would probably be a tough ask. Although I get where you're saying, but
I just want a few easy games at the start of the season. If we get shafted with fixtures again, then it's just going to be the same as last season, isn't it? So.
Yeah, well, hopefully we won't have such a dreadful start. And the fixtures are out the middle of next month as well. Lewis, who would you like first match of the season?
I'd like an easier start to the season as well, because this start to the season was ridiculous. The number of top sides we had to play, and every game's tough, but sort of really unfair. I'd like to play Tottenham at home because they've got the Super Cup, and just because Tottenham won the Europa League, I think a lot of their fans are getting carried away. They still had such a terrible season.
Yeah.
If we played in the Europa League final, we would have won that cup, and that wouldn't have made our season any way better. Obviously, it's fantastic to win the trophy, but the Premier League is still there. So I would love to play Tottenham because I don't think that they'll be any much better next season.
Yeah, I'm going to go Man United. And we turn them over 3-0, first match of the season. Thanks very much.
Right, or on the other end, Cunha scores in the last minute and does that in front of the South Bank. You don't want that happening first,
game. No, it won't be, because I said at Old Trafford, away at Old Trafford, first match of the season. Go and take the candy. here wants to say about new shirt sponsor. I can tell you that there isn't a new shirt sponsor. It's going to be the Bet again next year. It's a 2-year deal. That's going to be on the shirt for next year. It's the last. It'll be the last time that you'll see a betting sponsor on the front of the shirt. The reason why it will be is because they started deals before the cutoff. The contracts roll over till the end. If we had gone down, it might have broke the contract. We stayed in, and the Bet, it's worth about £9.5 million a year. That sponsorship, so that's hard to replace by a non-betting sponsor, and it's something that the club are working on right now to sponsor for the year after next. And there's a lot of clubs that will be chasing that pot of money. So the Bet will be on the front next year. Ernest wants to know. We go with Lewis first. It's hard to say right now. He's 80s, Ernest. He likes. I'd like some of what Magic wants. I think he means there. Where will we finish next year, Lewis?
Really early prediction there, and I probably will change my opinion between now and the start of the season. I would say anywhere between 8 and 11s. But I'd like to see a cup run either in the League Cup or the FA Cup.
Nice. George?
I just look at the league and every team just seems to be getting stronger and stronger.
I'll tell you what, I do think the 3 coming up this year, especially Leeds and Burnley, are going to be a lot stronger. I think Sunderland might struggle because they kind of grinded their way through.
They're a big club,
They are a big club, but they like the guy that scored the winner for them has gone to Brighton.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've got a big job up, but I think Leeds and Burnley are going to be stronger. I think the last 2 seasons the 3 promoted clubs have gone down, but I do think Leeds and Burnley are capable of staying up next season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be negative, but I look at the teams in and around us. West Ham are probably on a par with us, but they have played. They're going to keep Jared Bowen. We won't have a player like that next season. We don't have that Cunha. Everton, I'd argue, are on a par, but they've got players like Illiman and Jai, very talented player who could drag them out of stuff. So until I see us sign a creative player who's going to drag us, who can do what Cunha can do, then it's not. I don't know. I need to see. I can't predict now because I just don't know because you don't know until. But I'll say we stay up, but definitely. But
we're going to stay up. Well, I hope so. I think it's really hard to give a prediction right now until you know what's happening.
Exactly.
My dad thinks we're going to finish top 4, so I'll let him have the last say on that. Can we win the FA Cup or get to an FA Cup final? That'd be great. Kelvin wants to know what we expect pre-season games. Wolves are going to be playing the pre-season. I think they're going to Portugal for
it's the Algarve,
training, and they're likely to be playing a European team. I think probably in Spain. Is likely local matches. I think we're going to be going to Stoke at one of them, but they're putting that together. Nothing's fully confirmed yet in regards to that because Wolves were in such a bad position at the turn of the year when a lot of these things are planned, like the American trips, like what Villa are doing. Wolves were in connection. It's going to be European, and I think it's going to be a European opposition for the pre-season. But we'll wait for the club to confirm more on that. Let's have a look, see if we've got any more. Question. Marquee signing, what's your preferred position, George? And what realistic you have?
I'd try and get 2 number 10s in. One is up and coming and one is proven. Because as I said, we're going to be so light on attackers. And realistically, if our front 3 next season is Bellegarde, Manetsi and Larsen, I don't see too many goals coming from them. So we need a goal scoring attacking midfielder and someone up and coming as well. That'd be what I'd say. And don't ask me who, because that's not I'm a passionate fan. I don't necessarily have that scouting knowledge. Lewis will know better than me.
Yeah, go on, Lewis.
It's tough to give a name, Dave. I'm really unsure with what the club are going to plan to do with their big signing. If they're going to make one that's bigger than all the others. I agree with George. It has to be a forward player. Obviously, losing Cunha, we need to replace his goal. I'm just not sure whether they're going to spread those goals across 2 players, instead of trying to sign one player who's going to score, have the impact in terms of goal scoring that Cunha's had, or if they're going to try and sign 2. But I would say we need a left winger because that's where Cunha's played. That's what we'll need.
Absolutely. Quick one. Do you think Giga will make it or let him go on loan? I mean, they bought him in the summer. He played against Palace. I wasn't that impressed. But
against Bournemouth away, to be fair, I thought.
Yeah. I think he'll be in around the squad next year for sure. So, Santiago Bueno's done all right when he's come on as well, to be fair.
What I was going to say about Giga, when he first signed, I was on holiday and I was speaking to this Serbian bloke and he was saying, like, he's really good. I mean, obviously, it's not the same league, but, I have heard good things, so.
Question. I don't know, Lewis, you might be able to answer this better than anyone. Adrian Richard wants to know, does phasing out outgoing money affect how much you can spend?
Does this mean like paying in installments?
I think that's what he means, yes, mate.
Yeah. So what I understand of it is no. So I've seen a lot of comments, not just on here, like every time there's a transfer, it's always about, but they're paying installments. Every transfer is paid in installments. That's just how it's done. It's such a big sum of money. So no, from what I understand of it, when we sell Cunha now for 62.5 million, we have 62.5 coming in. It's not going to be Man United give us 10 million a season for 6 years or whatever it's going to be. So we only get 10 million on the balance sheet. It is 62 this season.
Right. Okay. So
even though they might choose to pay over 3 or 4 years, that it's not going to be Cunha's transfer won't be on our balance sheet in 4 years' time. It's going to be this season.
No, you can put basically how it works is you can put 62 million on. It goes on the books. We won't receive that, but it goes on the books. But then you still get a steady flow of and it's 3 installments over 2 years. So by the end of next season, not the end of the next season, the season after, we'll have all the money. So nothing to worry about. It's just FFP. It's just what you got to do. So it works better for both teams, and
Yeah, I'm just having a look down now. Any more questions? Few people want Leeds away, United away, Leeds away. Again, we were asking that question before.
Dave, I'm going to shoot, mate, but cheers for having me on.
Well, we're just about finished, mate. So if you just hold
on, then I'll stay.
We're literally just about finishing the show anyway. I'm looking down the comments. And I think we are just about finished. So look, guys, thank you ever so much for your questions. Thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great show. There you go. Obviously, George does his TikTok thing. So George, thanks ever so much for coming on. Have you enjoyed it?
Oh, absolutely brilliant, mate. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's good because obviously living in Manchester is not, when I'm not at the Wolves, not that many people to talk Wolves about. So that's the whole reason I started the TikTok, really, just because, it was a platform. So, I love talking about Wolves. So, yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
And what I will say, mate, we love your passion and your opinion. And that's really good. You put it across in the right way. You're not disrespectful in any way to anybody. And we want people to come on with strong views and passion. That's what makes the show.
Well, the thing is, Dave, because I'm such a bouncy guy and it can be a lot for some people. So I was just trying to get it out there that I don't mean anything.
To be honest,
it's just who I am.
In comparison, me and Lewis are a bit 2D. You're like 3D. So that's okay. We don't mind at all. But, mate, you're a larger-than-life character and absolutely fantastic. You made the show tonight coming on. So
thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
To have you on again. I'm sure we'll get you on through the summer and, of course, into extra time next year. Lewis, thanks for coming on tonight. Any final thoughts from you as well tonight?
Not really, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It's been a couple of months since I've been on. I think the last time I was on was after the Bournemouth game in the Cup. So, really glad to be back on, and we're really looking forward to seeing what happens in the summer. I think it's going to be a really, really positive summer.
Yeah, and I think that's the key message to everyone. Listen, thanks ever so much for joining us. All the extra times over the season. We've had the lows, the anger, the frustration, the apathy, scattered with new hope, joy, and positivity and hope for next season. And the summer window is going to be really important. Obviously, there won't be any extra time during the summer. We'll be having a week off next Sunday from Alive, but we will be back with the On the Ball show each Sunday, where we'll have an individual person coming on with me to talk about the week's events. So make sure you do stay tuned for that. We'll have some great guests coming on.
And now in Wall, I'm sure there'll be some emergency meetings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final thing we should say again, as we said at the start of the show, our love and best wishes go to anyone involved in the Liverpool parade thing that's happened tonight. You know, at the breaking news at the start of the show, I really do hope that no one has been seriously hurt, because it's an awful thing that's happened on a day which should be about celebration for those clubs. And let's hope that maybe Wolverhampton Wanderers will be having a trophy parade at the end of next season, because my dad's not getting any younger. I want to win that FA Cup, please. We saw the Palace fans and the joy that they've had. So, look, we've had a fantastic couple of hours of chat. Thanks to my guests, Lewis and George. Thanks to the 700 plus that have been watching tonight. Hit that subscribe button. Leave your thoughts if you're watching it on catch up. And until the next one, from all of us to all of you, always Wolves.